Hello YouTube. Hello, hello. We're back again with another speed lab. This time it's Claudio. This time we have a little bit of a simpler character, which, to be honest, I'm kind of... What's the word? I appreciate that it's a simpler character this time. It's basically what I wanted to say. Okay. So Claudio, this character, man. So a lot of people and a lot of Claudio players do think that Claudio is not the best, you know. And if you compare him to many of the other like top tiers, then you can kind of say, okay, Claudio maybe isn't that strong. But Claudio is actually a very, very good character. Still very, very good character. He lost some very important tools like his 4-1+2, which was a tracking mid, safe, Starburst move. Gave him Starburst. Like, it was very, very strong. So I'm glad it got removed. But what he got, he still stays very, very good and very, very strong. So let's talk about the character. Yeah, I haven't speak like Fang yet. So in general, when you're playing Kaz, our game plan is gonna stay the same more or less. The one big difference in our game plan is gonna be our movement, basically. So we will want to move a lot more against Claudio, especially in the neutral, because Claudio players love doing this and love doing forward. Like, these two moves in the neutral are gonna be very, very common. Like this one and this one, right? Sometimes you'll even see this, because they might mess up the wall running too, or they might do this on purpose. But no, most of the time you want to be stepping. You want to be stepping a lot. So for example, wall running 2, they do it in the neutral. It can track really well depending on how they do it, but it's also steppable if you time it correctly. You can actually step this both sides. But I prefer stepping to the left a little bit better than stepping to the right. But you can step it both sides. The reason I prefer left is because the side doesn't change as much. It still changes sometimes, but not as much. Like in this situation, you don't get the back turn. You actually get a straight angle. But you still have to be careful. So let's talk about wall running too while we're at it, right? I just mentioned it. So in the neutral, you do want to be stepping this because you don't really want to duck it. If you duck it, you're gonna get hit by the mids. Why am I messing up? There we go. Hopefully that worked. There we go. What the fuck? That's weird. Okay. Let me just do it like this. Actually whiff it. Yeah, this. So it's a +6 high. Comes out really fast. It's 13 frames fast, right? And it can be more plus depending on the angle. And usually you do want to either sidestep it, you know, either sidestep into the punish. Which can be hard sometimes because, you know, it's a one running move. Or you duck it. If you duck it, you also punish it. So that's one of the ways to beat it. Sidestepping is one of the best things to do because you're not risking as much as ducking, right? Because ducking is very, very risky, something like 4-4-4, which the other option will hit you. But now let's talk about the wall running 2 on block. So this. So when you block while running 2, you're -6, and usually you don't want to press anything. It's a lot of chip damage, it's 8 chip damage, that's a lot. Basically like a low poke like this one. But that's a chip damage. And usually you do want to respect it, usually. But sometimes Claudio players don't use these frames, almost at all. Actually, most of the time they don't use it. They do wall running 2 into wall running 2 sometimes. They might do wall running 2 into this move, which is another slow one, 4-4-4. Because it's a forward move. Or they might do a sidestep mix-up, which I think a lot of people know that Claudio sidestep mix-up is one of the best, right? Because sidestep 4 exists. I'm going to talk about this mix-up a little bit later. But that's the most common option. So sometimes if you press a button, it can work. Especially if you press down forward 2. Tracking mid, counter with launcher. It is punishable. It can be punished pretty hard because of this punish right here. But sometimes it can be worth it. But you have to be careful because good Claudio players will actually use their frames. And by using their frames, I mean they will do a down forward 3. Which is one of the best checks Claudio has. It's either down forward 3 or back 3. These two options. So let's check those two options specifically. So while running 2, back 3, if you do press here, obviously you're gonna get hit. Even if you jab, you're gonna get hit. And it's very strong because you can't even do anything against it. You cannot sidestep. You can't do anything. So it's kind of forcing you to also not move. Outside of a backdash, obviously. A backdash can block it. So it's just keeping you in place. The only way you can beat this is a power crush. But sometimes wall running 2 can be not +6, but it can be +7 depending on the angle. So even power crush won't beat it. Not angle, but how far you blocked it. So you have to be very careful about that. And the second one is down forward 3. This is one of the most common ones, the most strongest ones. So you can sidestep this one, but only to one side. So you cannot sidestep this to the right, or you can sidestep this to the left. But make sure to sidewalk to make it actually whiff. Because if you sidestep, you are gonna get hit. Like this kind of interactions are very weird in Tekken. When sidewalk works, sidestep doesn't, or the opposite. But this is one of them. When you have to sidewalk it. The sidestep is not enough. Like right now I'm stepping, I'm just getting hit. Of course you can step block it, if you're fast enough you're gonna block it, but sidewalk is like more consistent. But you have to be very, very careful because of some angles you can't sidewalk it anymore. Like in these angles, I can sidewalk. That one I can. There we go. So be careful about sidewalking this. It's still risky, it might still clip you. Because +6 into 14 frames, it can clip you. But if you want like a higher reward, sidewalking it can work, but be very careful. If your sidestep is good and you're playing a character with a good sidestep, like I don't know, Alisa or Lily, maybe it can be very, very consistent, but with gods it's a little bit less consistent. Okay. So that's about those two options. And the other options, of course, are like wall running 2 spam, like wall running 2 to wall running 2, and wall running 2 to forward forward 4, which as I said loses to options like sidewalks. If you sidewalk immediately, that will lose. Or a mash, that will also lose. Okay, so that's about wall running 2. Now let's talk about the second one, which is one of the best moves he has in my opinion, forward forward 4. This move is one of the best mids he has. It's very, very strong. I'll explain why. So forward forward 4 is basically used as a mid mix-up. You duck or sometimes sidestep the wall running 2. Sometimes this might track you. The sidestepping part is very, very good because, you know, you can sidestep this as well. Both sides, more or less. But if you do duck it, this will hit you. But what makes this move so strong is the block property. Not the hit property or anything else. I mean, the counter property is also very good, but I'll get to that later. So it's -1 on block. This is super, super strong. For a mid that's long range like this, 15 frames fast, it is a linear, but it's a -1 move. So that means the Claudio player might do something like a down back 2-1 after this, just to check you. Because, you know, it's -1, you can't really do anything about this because it high crushes. Or a down jab, like this one. So this into down jab, or this into 1-2. That's why this kind of stuff is so common. They might mash after it because there's so little minus. It's basically almost 0, right? But if they do something like this, if you do your own jab like 1-1, right? You'll obviously beat him. But something slower will not beat it. It trades with 11, like back 1. 1-1 will beat it. So this is very, very important to consider, that this move is -1, and the Claudio players like to press after this sometimes because it's like that. But the second thing they do, especially if you press after it, is they do forward forward 4 into a sidestep hop kick. Because if you're doing like a jab check, like let's say a 1-1 or a 1-2, 1-1 tracks there for some reason, floats it, right? Because of the frames. But if you do like a 1-2, for example, you are gonna get launched. That's why they do stuff like this. That's why they do the sidestep launch. Sidestep hop kick. So this kind of setups are very, very common. And if they see you respecting them, maybe they'll do a sidestep into a 4. Maybe they'll do a sidestep into a mid mix-up, like down forward 3. I'll talk about the sidestep mix-up a little bit later, but you have to be very, very careful after this move. And one of the most important features this move also has is this right here. So forward forward 4 on the counter hit gives guaranteed forward 2-2. So this move is very, very strong because its counter property is very strong as well. Basically 44 damage and Starburst. Starburst is very strong. We already know that. I'm gonna mention Starburst moves in a little bit as well. But first, now since I've been talking about the sidestep mix-up so much, let's actually talk about the mix-up. So the sidestep with Claudio basically means a mix-up is starting. Because sidestep 4 is one of the best lows he has. This low right here. It's a +6 low. Comes out in 20 frames. On the counter hit, it gives a guaranteed down back 3 here. I think it also gives guaranteed this as well. Something like this. That's new. But yeah. It's a very, very good low, and it's +6. It's very, very good. It's basically the same kind of plus as while running 2 on block. Exactly the same. So when you get hit by it, usually you respect it. Usually. But it's the same kind of situation as the while running 2 on block, when Claudio players sometimes don't use these plus frames. Because, you know, you're respecting it. When they do this, and you get hit by this, they might sidestep again into another one. Like do this, basically. Right? And mix it up with back 1, sidestep back 1. Or do this into back 1. That kind of stuff. So you have to be very, very careful. In general. Sometimes mashing is not a bad option. But you have to know what you're mashing. If you mash a jab, for example, the sidestep will make it whiff. So if you mash a jab like a 1-1 and they sidestep, it will whiff. So you have to be careful about what you're mashing and what the Claudio player likes to do. If they sidestep mix up into another sidestep mix up, maybe do a down forward 2. Maybe do an electric sometimes, it can work as well. But if you do stuff like this and they do a sidestep 4 into the back 1, you will get hit and you will get splatted at the wall. So it's very, very scary. So at the wall, Claudio's mix-up, sidestep mix-up is very, very scary. So you have to be very careful. And one of the best checks he has, which is the same as in wall rank 2 situation, is down forward 3 immediately afterwards. So this into down forward 3, that on hit. And when this happens, I think you can also sidestep this to the left, unless the wall is blocking you, right? Obviously. Wall is blocking me there, so yeah, you can sidestep this to the left if you see it coming. And then launch it. But if you're on P2, you won't be able to sidestep it. Because you can only sidestep to the right and it tracks to the right really, really well. And other than that, you can't really press here. You can't really do anything. Right? When I said 1-1 or a jab in general up to sidestep 4, I basically mean something like a while standing 4 or down jab. Because you're forced crouch. You cannot 1-1 here. So you have to be very, very careful in this situation. The sidestep mix-up is pretty simple. It's either this low, this one, or a lot of mids, like this mid, this mid. It can even be this one for counter hit sometimes. It can even be back 3 sometimes. So all those mid options can be there. And sometimes down 1-2 is another mid option they have, which is a Starburst move, basically. So when they have Starburst, this is what happens. This actually wall splats. So this is one of the things they might do. But as I said, I'll talk about Starburst a little bit later. Starburst down 1-2. I'll talk about this a bit later. So that's the sidestep mix-up. And let's talk about his mids as well. His good mid checks. I already talked about back 3. How good of a mid check it is, especially in plus frames. Back 3 also has a string, back 3-3. Which is kind of a mind game. So if you block this, let's say you block this, and you want to press after it, because they don't usually finish this, you are going to get counter hit. It's not launcher anymore, unlike in Tekken 7. It used to launch back then. But Claudio will get a free down back 1+2 here. Like this, for example. Which will flip you over. Or free down back 3 for more damage. So you still have to be very, very careful and respect the back 3 sometimes. Sometimes you don't respect it, but sometimes you do. So yeah, back 3-3 is very, very good. Back 3 by itself is very good as well because of the string extension. And as I said, it has decent tracking. And it's only -4, 30 frame check. Not bad at all. And it's a knee. You can't parry this. So it's very good. The other mid, which is I think one of the best mids he has, is back 1. Maybe one of the best mids in general. So back 1 is a max range, like mid screen, 2.5 maybe. Okay, not 2.5, 2.4, something like that. Mid. That's a very, very long range. It's only -5. Creates a lot of pushback on block. So if you block this, look at the pushback it creates, right? Claudio can backdash once and most things will whiff. If they sidestep, most things will whiff. So you have to be very, very careful with your options here. That's why you can sometimes see Claudio players do back 1 into a button. You can do back 1 to hop kick. Or back 1 to down forward 2. Or even back 1 to another back 1, even on block. That's why you see those stuff like that happening. It's because of the pushback. If you want to check him, you have to either dash in into a fast check, or you have to do a long range move, something like Kazuya's back four, for example, right? That has long range. So you have to be very careful, and the way you deal with this move is you basically can't. That's why this move is so strong. If you can make it whiff via backdashing, that's good. But if you backdash it and make it whiff, it's very, very good. But even then, it's very hard to whiff punish. So this move is very, very strong because usually you can't deal with it. Tracking mid, that's safe -5 with good pushback. Also wall splats. It's very strong. So one of the best mids he has. The other one, which is also up there, is the down 4-3. In down 4-3, I mentioned this briefly as well, that this is one of the best checks he has when he has plus frames. Like, for example, this is down 4-3, right? And why is that? Well, down 4-3 is very strong because he has two extensions. One is down 4-3-2, which is a natural hit combo, mid-high. You can duck this, but it recovers very quickly, so you have to be very, very careful about it. And about this move, it's also only -2 on block. So whenever you do block it, usually a Claudio player might still press. So they might do something like a shoulder. Like something like this into a shoulder is a setup because of that. -2 into a high crush. The shoulder high crushes. So you have to be very, very careful about stuff like this. I think they can even do stuff like this. Down by 1+2, because I think I remember this high crushing. It does. So this is also a setup akin to the shoulder. So be very, very careful about stuff like that. So that's the high, right? And it also can be delayed a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, look at this. Delay, right? This is the fastest one. That's a delay. Very big delay. So it's very, very strong because of that. But the thing that makes this very, very strong, especially in the wall, is the one option. This one right here. So it's a mid, and this is hit conformable. So you can hit confirm this as well, but this is the one that you usually want hit confirm, especially at the wall, because this is a wall splat. This will deal a lot of damage. So basically, when you go to the wall, let me just go to the wall real quick. Just combo, go to the wall. I know I can do it via practice mode, but I was just lazy. So this, let's say you either press or you duck. The Claudio player will do down 4-3, confirm this, and deal a lot of damage here. I don't remember the exact combo, maybe something like this. If I do it correctly. And it will deal a lot of damage, basically. This into this. Maybe that's guaranteed, but it will deal at least 70. I don't remember the exact combo, but it's a lot of damage. I think maybe shoulder. Let me just demonstrate it. There we go. Almost 70 damage. So that's a lot. That's a lot of damage. So you have to be very careful because of that. Okay. So that's one of the best mids he has, down 4-3 and the extensions. And I already showed how to deal with down 4-3. Down 4-3 usually sidestep to the left in the particular situations. And in those situations you do want to punish it very quickly, because if the high comes out, you will be countered, or if the mid comes out, you will also be countered. So you have to be very careful about punishing it. You have to be very, very quick. Either do a sidestep into a jab to not risk anything on your whiff punish, or sidestep into a fast launcher. Electric can work, but you have to be very fast. Okay, so that's about sidestep 4 into down 4-3 and down 4-3 in general. So down 4-2 is one of the good mids he has as well. I'm going to talk about this one. So this down 4-2 is a 14 frame mid that is punishable on block. It's -12. Ah, it's -13. I remember it as 12. But yeah, it's punishable on block. -13. It is not that steppable. It tracks quite well, as you guys can see, right? It's not a tracking move per se, but it has good tracking. And it's a countered launcher. So this down 4-2 is good to use, especially in certain situations like back 1 on block into this. That's why you might see Claudio players doing this. As I said, back 1 is pushback and then they do down 4-2, because if you dash in and then button, you're gonna get countered. Or a hop kick. Same thing. Obviously hop kick is very, very good as well. But they won't throw this out too much unless they're panicking. If they're panicking, you can't really sidestep there and you just have to block it. Okay. What else are good mids? So this is also a good mid, down back 1+2. This is a new move. Down back 1+2 is a high crushing mid. It's also a jumping move. Right? It crushes jabs like just like that. You can crush Magic 4. And instant knockdown. Right? It doesn't have a counter property. Never mind, it does have a counter property. I forgot. I thought it didn't have a counter property unless it was heat. It's a countered launcher. I almost forgot. So you have to be careful about setups that high crush, like the one I talked about. This to down back 1+2, right? Or 1-2 into it if you're like jabbing afterwards, right? This kind of setups can really catch you if you like doing highs. So be careful. But on block, this one, it is punishable. The only exception is when he has Starburst. But as I said, Starburst I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Okay. What else? So down forward 1-2 is also one of the good mids, but it's mainly used as a whiff punisher. Not used too much otherwise. Or back 4. Okay, I will have to talk about back 4 as well. So back 4 is mainly used as a heat engager because back 4-2, for example, this one, is a heat engager. And I might use this as a whiff punisher. Especially in heat, this is a combo, right? I just did a bad combo, but it's a combo. So this you have to be very careful of. Especially when they have heat. You have to be very careful. They might throw this out as a whiff punisher or as a check. And the other thing they can do is the 1. And the 1 is very common. Usually when they don't think it's gonna be a whiff punish and they just do the 1. Of course it's duckable, you can duck this, but you're gonna risk getting hit by the mid. One very important thing to realize about this high, this one right here, is that Claudio player is plus afterwards. It doesn't look like he's plus, but he is +1. So that's why you might see the Claudio player doing either a down jab here, down back 2-1, 1-2, stuff like this. You'll see them pressing something fast basically after that move, which is back 4-1. The way you deal with back 4 in general, it is kind of linear, but it's hard to step most of the time. As you guys can see, usually it will track me, right? It has very good tracking. Sometimes you can step it. Like this kind of situation, I think I actually backdashed it. But usually you won't be able to step it. Situational step is what I call it. But yeah, back 4 is a very good move. You can sometimes step it to the right, but it's gonna be hard. That's why this move is very good to throw out sometimes. It also has the back 4-3, but you usually don't see this. You only see this as a wall combo because this extension right here. That's a wall combo. Usually won't see it in the neutral. Okay. That's about back 4. Let's see what else to talk about. Down 1 I have to talk about later when I talk about Starburst. Back 4. Oh yeah, back 4-4. I forgot. This is new. So back 4 also has a new extension now. Almost forgot. Which is the back 4-4. So the weakness of this move is that you can actually step it on block. But it's very scary to do because anything else that the Claudio player can do after back 4 is not steppable on block. You're basically gonna get hit. But it's also something like a hop kick. This behaves like a hop kick. It's -13. The big problem about this move is that if you do either press or you're impatient or try to sidestep at the wrong time, you might get launched. And you know, you don't want to get launched usually. Especially against Claudio. You can deal a lot of damage and get you to the wall. And the worst part about this is if you are going to the wall, that's it. Claudio just has a lot of advantage there. So you have to be very careful. So that's back 4-4. Good thing that I got reminded of that by berries. The power crush is also one of the setup options Claudio has. Like, imagine stuff like this into power crush instead of the shoulder. Or 1-2 into power crush. You'll usually see this at the wall. Because it's a wall splatting power crush. It's kind of similar to our forward 2. So it's -13 on block. So you gotta be very careful about stuff like that. Those are just setups. Okay, up forward 2. Good thing I remembered this. So up forward 2 is a new move. It's one of the new mids he has. Maybe some Claudio players like to use it. Especially in heat because, you know, it's a launcher. The up forward 2 is something like an orbital. It's very, very similar to an orbital. It's a 41 frame move, jumping move, safe, -8 for Claudio. But it's a jumping move and it's a heat engager. So basically think of this as a heat engaging orbital instead of a launching orbital. So he does have this option. The way you usually beat this is it's pretty linear. You can sidestep this most of the time, right? But you still have to be careful about it, especially on block. If you do block it, if you do block this move, usually you can use your frames because you're +8, but sometimes the Claudio player will not let you because, you know, it's Claudio. They might hop kick sometimes or do something else. So be careful about using your frames there. Your 1+2 is good, but it's usually used as a whip punisher. This one right here. 3+4 is very uncommon. Yeah, he has a backswing blow as well, back to +4. I guess I should talk about this as well. So back to the +4 is another setup, basically, as a backswing. They do something like this, and I don't know, you do a jab here, or something that doesn't work, basically, right? Something like that. They might avoid stuff with the backswing blow, and it usually is used at the wall. The good part about this is that it's -50. You can launch it. Electrocuting this is a little bit hard because of the block stun, but you can do down forward 1 punishment, or you can try to electrocute, try to practice the electrics. But yeah, the backswing blow is -15. It's very, very important to know. Since I talked about mids, let's go to lows now. So I already talked about sidestep 4, which is the most important low he has. It's very, very strong. But he has some other lows as well. So the most annoying one is down back forward 3. So it's a mid-high that's natural, and it's 0 on hit. So you're both 0, so basically means you go back to neutral, and the mind game is 0 and close range. A little bit close range. There's some pushback, but yeah, usually it's close range. So you have to be very, very careful on what, and actually observe what the Claudio player does, because they might jab afterwards because it's 0, or you might jab afterwards because it's 0. Or they might do a high crush because they're expecting you to jab afterwards, like they might do, you know, not that, like this into down back 3, which is a high crushing move. So you have to expect this kind of stuff. But obviously it's a very, very risky move because it's a low high. And you can just launch it with wall stang too. You can also low parry it. And you can also sidestep it. Well, not sidestep it per se, but you can sidewalk it. You can sidewalk it to the right. But not the second hit. Oh, and very, very important, and not a lot of people know, is that the second hit is also punishable. If you just block the second high, let's say the first one whiffs, right? And you just block this, you can also punish this. It's -11. So Kaz himself gets back 1-2, or if you don't have an 11 frame punisher, you get a 10 frame punisher. This is very, very important to know. It's exactly the same, just like Law's low high. Law's low high is also punishable if the first one whiffs. Okay. So that's one of the most annoying lows, and you have to expect them, especially if you're not ducking a lot. If you're not ducking a lot, they might just do this like this, you know, and maybe spam it to annoy you, just so you start ducking. But don't let them get to you. Don't let them get in your head sometimes. Sometimes you do have to duck. Don't get me wrong, it's still a mix-up more or less, but don't let them get to you by them spamming this. Okay, the other low that he has is down back 3. Which is a slow low. It's 24 frames. Usually you can react to this pretty reliably. And you get a -15 punish, which in Kazuya's case is twin pistons. Because our wall stang 2 is 16 frames fast. So usually the counterplay to this is you react to it and punish it. You can also sidewalk it, but usually it can track, basically. I don't know why I'm stuttering. I'm stuttering because I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. I have like 1,000 different things in mind. Should I talk about this or this? But yeah. You have to sidestep this. Not sidestep this. You have to duck this and react to it. That's what you're supposed to do. So that's also one of the lows. But I also talked about that sidestep 4 is the biggest one. So sidestep 4, one of the most important lows to think about. But there's also one more, which is down to 2. This one. This got changed from the previous game. It doesn't do much damage. It does very little damage, actually, 14 damage. And it's -1. So you're plus after the situation. And it's also -13. So against Kaz, it's not the best move to do. But it's also one of the options, because unlike in Tekken 7, when you could duck the second hit, This is natural now. And it comes out in 20, if I remember correctly. It's 20 frames and high crushes. So sometimes we have to be careful about this move. Especially at round enders, they might do something like this. But the good thing about this is that it jails. If you try to punish the first hit, for example, it will jail. You will not get hit by the second one. Okay. I think that's about it for lows as well. Like, Claudio's main weakness is that he doesn't have good lows outside of sidestep 4. That's his main weakness. So if you don't duck him a lot, he will get annoyed. Because his mids are good. His mids are really good. Like, forward 4 is an amazing mid. Back 1 is an amazing mid. Back forward 3. Back 3. These are all good mids. But his lows are a little bit lacking. That's why he's more sorely reliant on sidestep 4. But yeah, now let's talk about Starburst. So, since we're talking about Starburst, I also have to briefly mention that when you go into Heat, Claudio basically gains infinite Starburst charges. He uses Heat for it, like for example when he does this, he uses Heat. But this is basically the same move as Starburst down 1-2. Exactly the same. So, let's talk about down 1-2. So down 1-2 is another option that Claudio players use as a sidestep mix-up or a mix-up in general. So if they do sidestep 4, they might do a sidestep down 1-2 as a mid mix-up because, you know, you're ducking the low. So that's what you will see. And the way you deal with this most of the time, you have a couple of options. One is you can parry the second hit. You need the punch parry specifically, obviously. Us can do this. Or, which is the better option, you sidestep it to the left. This is different from the previous game because in the previous game you had to sidestep this to the right. But in this one, if you try to sidestep this to the right, you are gonna get hit. So the sidestep direction change basically. So remember, if you want to avoid this, sidestep to the left. But if the wall is blocking you, let's say there's a wall there, then you punch parry it. Punch parry always works, you don't need to worry about your positioning of the wall. The punch parry is a very, very good option when something like that happens. If not, sidestep is a very good option. Okay. And you want to sidestep this because I forgot why you want to sidestep this. Forgot to mention that. So let me go into Heat. You want to sidestep this because this is a plus frame move. You don't want to block this. So let's say you don't sidestep it, then you block it, right? -6. It is -6. So you have to be very, very careful and very, very aware of this move. It's a once per stream. Okay. What else to talk about? The down 1-2 is very, very strong, but Starburst gains also a lot of strong moves, like forward 1+2, 1+2, for example, which is another mid mix-up. This is usually used outside of the wall. So imagine this kind of situation, right? So he's using sidestep 4s to mix you up, and if he wants a mid, he will do this, which is a normal hit launcher, right? And they do a combo. Whatever combo they do, I don't know. I just know that one. So you have to be very, very careful about that move. But basically, forward 1+2, 1+2, which is a normal hit launcher if you duck it. The way you deal with this is you either sidestep this on a particular timing, but it's very, very hard. You can actually step this to the right sometimes, but it's very hard to step this, especially if it comes after a sidestep. So you have to be careful. Just have to be careful. And usually you block it. And the more thing you have to be very, very aware of when it comes to this move is that it's delayable. See that delay? It's very delayable actually. So if you do press or hold forward even a little bit, you will get hit. And sometimes, if you sidestep, you will also get hit. Either side. So you have to be very, very careful. You can you can beat the delay via punch parry. And the punch parry is not bad to do, because the normal one jails anyway. If you mash punch parry like this, right? You mash it, you'll still block the forward 1+2, 1+2 because it jails, the fastest version anyway. But if he delays it, then you'll get the punch parry, so it's not too bad. Okay. Other than that, forward 1+2, 1+2, he also has I have talked about this move as well. I forgot to mention this in the mids. What other Starburst move does he have? This one. Yeah, almost forgot. So this is one of the best ones that he has. It's very, very strong. There's this move that I mentioned. Down back 1+2. Usually it's a normal hit knockdown, right? It just knocks down. But in Starburst, which is the same as being in Heat, it's a normal hit launcher. And not only is the normal hit launcher, it's also -2 instead of being -13, I think, or -12 normally. So it's -2, safe, a lot of pushback. This is a lot of pushback. You basically go back to neutral. It's a normal hit launcher. So what you'll see Claudio players do is run into doing this. And you might ask, why would they do this? It's because of this. If you do this, you're basically forcing them to either sidestep or duck, right? Then they will run into this. If you do duck or sidestep at the wrong time, you will get instantly launched. And this is very safe for them to do. That's why they do this. Okay. Did I miss anything for Starburst? I said down 1-2, forward to 1+2, down back 1+2. I think that's like the most common options in Starburst anyway. Now let's talk about not this one, 3-2. So 3-2 is one of the moves that I forgot to mention when I was talking about the mids. But it's a 14 frame punish basically. And I see a lot of people thinking the second hit is a mid, so that's why I wanted to mention this. This kind of looks like a mid in a way, because I thought it was a mid at first, but it's a high. So it's a mid-high heat engager. That's a 14 frame punish. They might use this as a whiff punisher, but it does not give anything a combo guaranteed. 4-2. Oh yeah, 4-2. That's also a Starburst move. So 4-2, usually Claudio has a magic 4-3 like this one, which usually you want to duck, right? It's a string. I don't cover stuff like this because this is like a knowledge check. You just have to know it. You usually have to duck this. But in Starburst, he also has an option to do this right here, which is like a arrow of light. I don't know what the hell this is. But yeah, it's a special bit, basically. So let's go in Heat, just so you guys can see what this is. So this is very, very steppable usually, but only to one side. So you have to be very careful of stepping this. So if you step it, you can punish it. But not only that, it's also -17. It's very, very minus. And since it's a special mid, you can also duck and block it, and then punish easily with a wall stank too, from close range anyway, right? So even if you duck the high, which is the correct thing to do after 4, right? Let's say you duck because of the high, but you block this, you can still punish it. It's -17. It's very, very good because of that. And the most common ways Claudio players do this is when you try to sidestep him in some situations. Like they might do this after like 1-2-1 hit or something like this, or even on block, right? Because the 4 actually tracks very, very well to the left, but does not track to the right. It will basically track your sidestep left. That's why they do this. So you have to be very careful. Some situations they will do that just because it will track to the left side and it will catch you. So if you do stay patient, you'll just block it and launch it. Just meant to be used as a punish. Yeah, it's mostly used as a punish, or they can just shoot you from very far. That's what I used to do when I played Claudio as well. I was very, very far. I just shot people. The range is very, very far, right? Just shoot them, right? It's a sniper. So it might happen like this as well. But as I said, you can sidestep this because you usually don't want to even block it. It deals chip damage from far away anyway. So yeah, that's one of the moves that's very, very important. In Heat, I don't think he has anything else in Heat other than the Infinite Starburst until he has it anyway. And I have to talk about the Heat Smash as well. So this Heat Smash is a low Heat Smash, right? Has decent range, doesn't have that bad of a range. I think it will still reach like something this one. Like okay-ish range. It can be better obviously, but it's okay range. Better than Paul's for example. And it's steppable. But only to one side. So if you sidestep right, this will track you. But if you sidestep left, sometimes it will track you and sometimes you'll avoid it. Wait, let me actually demonstrate that as well. There we go. But usually I will not advise to sidestep. I would not advise that. So you have to be very, very careful about Claudio's. It's basically like a hell sweep. And the important part about this is when you block it, it's minus 14. I know some Kazuya players will be like itching to electric this, but it's not worth it. Trust me, block stance weird, it's not worth to electric it. Back 1-2 or down back 1-2. That's your punish for it, more or less. Okay, what else? I think that's more or less it, right? Like some setups, something like this can also be a setup, I think. Because if you do sidestep left a lot after forward, 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 this will also catch you. And they might do the arrow instead of the 3, obviously, right? So this kind of setups can work because of the magic 4 sidestepping, not sidestepping, track to the left. But yeah, I think that's it, more or less. More or less. I'm still missing a lot of stuff. Most likely I missed a lot of stuff, but this is like a basic guide. First speed left for Claudio. Not bad at all. Not bad. But yeah, everyone, big thank you for watching YouTube. Big thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.